Hey, this is Katrina Byrd, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a little minute. That's because I had to study for my infectious disease boards, but we're back. And today we're talking about influenza vaccine. So let's get started. All right. So the influenza vaccine is really important because it's one of the primary interventions we can do to prevent getting the influenza virus. From 2019 to 2020, approximately 38 million Americans were infected with influenza, approximately. And of that number, about 22,000 people died. Additionally, we're in the middle of a COVID-19 pandemic, and so a lot of times the symptoms of COVID-19 and influenza are very similar. Fever, cough, fatigue, muscle aches, so forth and so on. So it's really important that as we go into the winter season that we're vaccinated so that we can prevent ourselves from getting influenza while we're still trying to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, so I just wanted to kind of answer some questions and talk about a few myths associated with the vaccines. So let's just jump right in. So the first common question is, why do you have to get the vaccine every year? Like, why can't it be like other vaccines where I only get it once or twice? Why do I have to get it every year? So the one unique thing about influenza is it has what we call this outer coat or envelope. This envelope has multiple viral proteins on it. So they have multiple viral proteins. So I kind of like to think of the influenza virus like a coat that you and I might wear. And usually on coats you have, some have zippers, some have buttons, they're different colors, so forth and so on. And that's the same thing about the influenza virus. So the vaccine, what it does, it targets various viral proteins. But the one thing about the influenza virus is it's smart. It's like, okay, I see that y'all trying to create a vaccine against my viral proteins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my viral protein every year so that you can't recognize it. Specifically, what happens is so the influenza virus will invade the host, which are humans in this case, cells. And within the cell, as they're trying to replicate themselves, they create errors. And so because of these errors, it changes the shape and what these viral proteins look like. Therefore, every year we have to create a vaccine against a new viral protein. So the way I like to think about it is basically the virus is changing its outer coat, its envelope. It's changing the buttons, it's changing buttons to zippers, it's changing the color altogether. And that's why we have to have a vaccine made every year. Additionally, the vaccine, we do our best to try to predict which vaccines are going to work best, but they're only about 40 to 60% effective according to the CDC. However, there are a lot of benefits and reasons why you should get the influenza vaccine, and we'll go through that shortly. People say, oh, okay, I have an egg allergy, so I can't get the influenza vaccine. So that is not true. If you have a severe egg allergy, meaning that you can't really eat anything with eggs in it, if you do, you have very severe reaction called anaphylaxis or hives or difficulty breathing, there are influenza vaccination options that are good for you. So number one, you can get the live vaccine, which is not an egg-based vaccine. Two, you could also get a recombinant vaccine, which is also a non-egg-based vaccine. Additionally, for those people who they may not be able to eat scrambled eggs, for example, however, they can eat baked goods with eggs in it, you can still get the regular inactivated influenza vaccine. So don't shy away. This is something you can easily talk to your doctor about. So the next thing we should address is who should get the influenza vaccine. So definitely children 6 months and older. So 6 months is the earliest you can get it, because we know that when kids get the flu, they can get very sick. Also, all adults who are 50 years old or older. Additionally, if as an adult you have certain medical conditions like lung diseases like asthma, COPD, if you have heart disease, diabetes, and lastly, if you are pregnant or planning to get pregnant during the flu season. So what do I mean by flu season? So flu cases can happen year-round, but in the States, they tend to have increased numbers starting in October. So that's when we typically will offer the flu vaccine. However, our peak season is December to February each year. Although there are cases as late as May, you can sometimes see summer cases, but primarily it's going to be in the winter months here. All right, I know what you're thinking. You're like, you know what? I'm healthy. I don't have any of those conditions you named, so I don't think I should get the vaccine. So why are you trying to tell me I should get the vaccine? Ooh, that's a really good question. So healthy people should get the vaccines for the following reasons. Number one, do you live with someone who is at high risk of having serious problems if they get the flu? So I've already talked about children. Children can get really sick. So if you're living with any children in your household, they should definitely get vaccinated. Additionally, elderly people, 50 or older, well, I guess 50 is not necessarily considered elderly, but definitely if someone is 65 or older, lives in your household, you should get vaccinated to protect them. Also, if you have anyone pregnant around you, because the thing about healthy individuals, you could get the virus, influenza specifically, and it may just be a little bit worse than the common cold. Okay, you have fever, body aches. You're like, oh, this is like the worst cold ever. But you're able to get over it and go about your everyday life. However, if you're around somebody who's immunocompromised, someone who's pregnant, your children, you're around these people, you can easily spread the infection to them. You also can be probably, when you're healthy, you have like fewer symptoms, and for you might not even know you have the flu. You may just think you have a regular cold, and again, you can spread the infection to other people. So it's really important that when you want to not only prevent yourself from getting infection, you want to prevent those people around you. But even if you're like, okay, well, I live by myself, I don't live around anybody, but just think about your coworkers. Just think about who you're interacting with on a day-to-day basis. We know that even the other thing you're probably thinking, okay, well, it's only at best 60%, effective in covering the influenza viruses per year. We know that if you have the vaccine and you get the flu, you're less likely to die. You're less likely to be hospitalized. You're less likely to get severe disease. So this is another reason why you should get the influenza vaccine. Some people have told me, look, Dr. Byrd, I don't get the influenza vaccine because it makes me sick. I feel terrible after it. And so ever since, I have never gotten a vaccine. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. So a few things you should know. It takes 2 weeks after getting the vaccine for your body to be able to protect itself against the virus. Therefore, if you were exposed to influenza a few days prior to getting the vaccine, or within that 2-week window after getting the vaccine, you can get full-blown influenza. So that's really important, and I feel like we as physicians don't always do a good job letting people know about that. Additionally, it is very common to have muscle pain at the site where you were vaccinated. You also may have fever, may kind of feel tired, may not feel like yourself for the first day or so after. That is normal. Up to 48 hours, it's normal to have that. So again, this is something that we don't always tell our patients. So then people get sick and they're like, okay, well, I got sick from the vaccine made me sick. What it's actually doing is your body is creating an immune response to the vaccine, which is what you want. So that if your body comes in contact with a virus in the environment, your body is like, hey, I recognize you and I'm gonna fight you off. And I'm gonna use all these antibodies I created when you got vaccinated so that I can fight you off and not let you cause really bad disease, in my person, in me, in you. So these are just a few of the vaccines, few of the reasons, that I think that you should get vaccinated. Please get your influenza vaccine. I'm just going to quickly recap. Number one, influenza affects millions of people every year, and it's preventable. Two, it's important to get vaccinated because you really want to protect yourself as well as the vulnerable people in our community. Three, if you have an egg allergy, don't worry about it. You can still get vaccinated. Lastly, the flu vaccine doesn't make you sick. It's only creating an immune response to the vaccine so that it can protect you moving forward. If you got sick from the vaccine, you probably were exposed to the flu and it had nothing to do with the vaccine. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. Please click subscribe and click on your notification bell so you can know when I upload videos. Also check out my IG account. I always have a few tidbits and additional information there. All right, bye.